Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear students, welcome to Fundamentals of Public Administration. Course code is MPA 406. Today, before moving on towards today's lecture, let us have a brief review of whatever we have discussed in our previous lecture. Now, in our previous lecture, we have talked about classical school, and we have talked about main features, and the task of administration is not political but technical. It emphasizes on material and methods instead of human element in the organization. So here you see that instead of focusing on the human element in the organization, it emphasized on the material and methods in the organization, and then it treated people as cogs in the machines. Now, people in the organization were like other machines and tools. Again, this is really, when we think about it, that humans working in any organization, they were treated like machines in that time, and then focus was to increase productivity. Now, when we look at this slide, what comes in your mind? The basic focus of an organization was on the productivity, number one thing. Secondly, the organization, the basic purpose was to make money and to increase the productivity, and they were treating their employees as machines, as cogs in machines, and this was, of course, not good. And then when we talk about our employees, we say that a human resource is the most important asset of any organization. So of course this is true, and this is a fact that HR is the most important resource, because HR is responsible for managing other resources like financial resources, physical resources, and information resources. So HR is also called the intellectual capital of an organization. So when you treat your HR, when you treat your employees like machines, of course, what you expect is you expect the robotic response. And when we talk about the robotic response, what does it mean? It means that there is no creativity, there is no improvement in performance. So when we think about our human resource, we expect creativity, we expect innovation, and that creativity and that innovation is only possible when you give them peace of mind, when you give them respect, when you give them dignity. But if you treat your employees like machines, so of course it is more mechanical, and when you treat your employees mechanically, of course the result is also mechanical, and of course this result is not giving you the desired output. So for any organization, this is really very important that they need to focus on their employees, and if you treat your employees mechanically, of course you will not get the desired output. Now moving on to the human relations school. Here the contributions of human relations school are the main contributors who contributed to the human relations schools were Alton Mayo, Chester Barnard, and Herbert Simon. Now the human relations school was the response to classical school of thought. Now so this human relations school of thought came because in our previous slide we discussed, now this shows the summary of our previous lecture. Now this shows that the classical school of thought was of the view that it was treating humans, employees like machines, and it was more productivity focused, and humans and the employees who are working in any particular organization, they were not giving their rights as humans. So the human element was missing. So in response to this, this human relations school of thought came in, and of course this human school of thought, human relations school of thought, focuses on that human element which was missing in the classical school of thought. Now here The major contributors are these Elton Mayo, Chester Bernard, and Herbert Simon. So when we talk about the human relations school, it was a response to the classical school of thought, as we already discussed. Now, those who believed in the assumptions of classical school ignored the human element in the organization. Now, this is really very important for an organization, that they must focus on the human element in their organization. Now, focusing on the human element means what? It means that you need to take care of your humans. So if you're not taking care of your humans, if you are not giving importance to the employees who are working in the organization, so of course they lack motivation. Because when we talk about employees, of course the first thing that comes in our mind is customer. Now, when we talk about customer satisfaction, according to all the major philosophers of the world, they say that customer is of two types. And what are those two types? We have internal customers, then we have external customers. Now, external customers are your buyers, are the persons who buy your products and who use your services and then they pay. On the other side, when we talk about internal customer means that the persons who are working in the organization, meaning the employee. Now, the conclusion here is that in order to satisfy the external customer, now external customer, when we say that the customer is the king, customer is the boss, customer is always right, so we always read and hear things like that. So when we want to satisfy our customer, what we need to do here is, first of all, we need to satisfy the internal customer. And once we are able to satisfy the internal customer who is the employee of that organization will try his or her level best to satisfy the external customer. So जैसे हम कहते हैं कि ताली जो है वो दोनों हाथ से बजती है, इसी तरह आपको अपने इंटरनल कस्टमर का भी ख्याल करना है, टॉप मैनेजमेंट को, और अपने एक्सटर्नल कस्टमर का भी ख्याल करना है. तो जब आप अपने इंटरनल कस्टमर की टेक केयर करेंगे तो आपका इंटरनल कस्टमर इन रिटर्न आपके एक्सटर्नल कस्टमर की टेक केयर करेगा. तो डेफिनेटली यहाँ पे हम देख रहे हैं कि कस्टमर सेटिस्फेक्शन इज इंक्रीजिंग, कस्टमर लॉयल्टी इज इंक्रीजिंग on both sides, internal and external both. Then they looked at human beings as mechanical devices. Now you see that if we look at human who are working in our organization as mechanical devices, this is of course not good, because when you talk about humans, of course humans, they have feelings, they have emotions. So when you ignore their feelings, when you ignore their any like for example, if they are sad or if they are happy or if they have any problems or if they are like for example excited due to one factor or the other, so we should not, as administrator, we should not ignore these factors. So when you ignore your employees and you treat them mechanically, when you treat them like cogs in machine, as we earlier discussed, that if you treat your employees as tools or machines, of course it means that you are ignoring the most important aspect, and that is relationship. In my earlier lecture I talked about that where are the real meanings of words. The real meanings of words are in the relationships. The real meanings of words are in the feelings. The real meanings of words are in the people. Now here it means that if we communicate something to our employees, if we want them to do certain tasks, if we want them to perform certain responsibilities, so they will understand it more, they will be highly motivated if you value them. If you try to build and strengthen your relationship with your employees, and that is only possible if you take care of their feelings, if you take care of their emotions, if you take care of their motivation. So this is really very important, and this human relations school of thought focuses on those aspects which were missing in the classical school of thought. Now initially the methods of classical schools worked, and then gradually these stopped giving intended results. So as you see that in short term different organizations, they were able to achieve their desired goals. they were able to achieve their targets in the short run. But what happened in the long run, that the consequences or the bad effects of the classical school of thought coming in, and then the result is the organizations, they started showing poor performance. So it means, what do we learn from this, all this discussion? So when you look at this slide, the first thing that comes in our mind is we need to treat humans like humans. We need to give dignity, we need to give respect to our employees. And if we are not doing it, it means that we are trying to lose our most important human resource. So human resource is also called the intellectual capital. So if you do not take care of your intellectual capital, so that best human resource may leave you. And if your best employees, if they leave you, what happens? Of course, without best employees, without good human resources, none of the organizations in the world can survive or can become a leader in market. Now, human relations theory has diverse tradition of models, techniques, research findings, and ideas that often trace their roots back to the Hawthorne experiments. Now, what are those Hawthorne studies? Let's have a look at that. Now, Elton Mayo and others philosophers, they undertook the famous experiment at Hawthorne plant of the Western Electric Company at Cicero, Illinois, USA between 1927 to 1932. Now so before that, from 1924 to 1927, the National Research Council USA did study in collaboration with Western Electric Company to determine the effect of illumination and other conditions on workers and their productivity. Now, researchers conducting the experiments at the Hawthorne plant of Western Electric Company placed two groups of employees doing the same work into separate rooms. Now, let's have a look at that experiment. One group, when they divided it into two groups, one group was treated as the control and the second was test group. Now, we have two groups. One is the group treated as the control group, and the second one was called the test group. Now, the control group is one for which the variables like light, temperature, and working conditions are not changed. Now, here you see that in control group, like light, temperature और working conditions जो हैं उनको change नहीं किया गया और वो as it is रखी गई. Whereas the test group is one for which the variables like light, temperature, and working conditions were changed. Now, in one group, in the control group, these light, temperature, and working conditions were the same. They were not changed. But in the test group, light, temperature, and working conditions, they were changed. Now, the test group in the Hawthorne experiment was exposed to various experimental changes such as increased lighting, decreased lighting, rest, pauses, and so on. Now, for the test group, the light was gradually decreased. It was decreased to the extent that it was as little as moonlight. Now, talking about the Hawthorne studies, the researchers of Western Electric Company expected the experiments to lead to different levels of performance for the experimental control group and for the test group. Now, to the amazement of the researchers, both groups increased their performance. Now, this was really an amazing result. Now, the researchers concluded that the experimental design was problematic, which allowed extraneous factors to enter the design that led to these unanticipated results. Now, what Mayo and his colleagues found that employees in the groups were treated as special. Now, these findings are really very important. मुझे यहाँ आपकी ज़्यादा फोकस की ज़रूरत है प्लीज़ कि आप यहाँ देखिएगा कि Mayo and his colleagues found that employees in the groups were treated as special. Now, this factor is really very important. Now, we are talking about control group and test group both, that both the group members they were treated as special. और definitely जो group members थे test group में और control group में, उन दोनों groups के जो members थे, जो employees थे उन दोनों groups में, उनको already inform किया जा चुका था कि उनको special treatment दी जा रही है, number one. Then they were given attention by management, separated from other employees and encouraged to perform. तो इन एम्प्लॉयज़ को जिनको इन दोनों ग्रुप्स में डिवाइड किया गया, टेस्ट ग्रुप में और कंट्रोल ग्रुप में, उनको बाकी जो दूसरे उनके जो कॉलीग्स हैं उनसे उनको अलग किया गया और उनको इनकरेज किया गया कि दे आर रिक्वायर्ड टू परफॉर्म देयर लेवल बेस्ट. Now, and the next is, they found in general that improvements in productivity were due to social factors as morale, good relations with managers and members of group. Now you see that why the productivity, why the performance of both the groups was wonderful. Now the reason is these employees, they got number one, special attention from the top management, number one, and then they were motivated, they were encouraged to perform the best, second factor, and then due to these motivating environment, due to this supportive environment, the performance of both the group members increased. Now talking about the same studies, Hawthorne studies, employees who are given attention by management, who are treated as special and who perceive their work as significant can become highly motivated and thus become more productive. Now you see that the importance of giving appreciation. Now giving appreciation is a non-financial reward, and according to philosophers, in the long run non-financial rewards are more important than financial rewards. Now here you see the amazing impact of non-financial rewards on the performance of employees, and this phenomena arising basically from people being noticed is called Hawthorne effect. Now यहाँ पे definitely again re-emphasize किया गया है कि when you give special treatment to your people, when you encourage them, when you motivate them, when you give them full support, of course the result is enhanced performance, better performance. What the Hawthorne studies emphasize that organizations are not just machines and tools but are also social systems. Now this is really a wonderful study. Now it focuses on one major factor, and that is that employees should not be treated as machines. अगर आप employees को machines की तरह deal करेंगे, उनको tools की तरह deal करेंगे, उनको आप different, जैसे ये table है तो आप table को किस तरह treat करते हैं. So you have like you think that this table has no emotions. So if you treat your employees like tables, if you treat your employees like computer, now this is not good. So what is recommended here, that you need to take care of the feelings and emotions of your employees. You need to motivate them, you need to appreciate them, you need to encourage them, you need to take care of their sadness and happiness. So as a team member and as a, when you give them the supporting environment, of course the result is wonderful and the result is increased performance. So Hawthorne studies was a wonderful experiment done on two groups, test group and control group, and the result was really amazing. So this human relations school of thought was, with the help of these Hawthorne studies, was able to prove that there is an amazing impact of financial and non-financial rewards on the performance of employees. Okay, the next contributor here when we talk about the human relations school of thought is Chester I. Bernard. Now Chester I. Bernard की जब हम बात करते हैं तो Chester I. Bernard wrote the most influential book entitled The Function of the Executive. Now he was the president of Bell Telephone Company in New Jersey, USA from 1927 to 1948. Bernard was much influenced by Mayo and others of human relations school. His analysis of the manager was that the manager has to understand the behavior of people in an organization and maintain a system of cooperative effort in formal organizations. When we talk about manager of any organization, like persons who are responsible for managing or supervising the work of their subordinates or team members. Now, so according to Chester Barnard, it is the basic responsibility of any manager in any organization to try to understand the behavior of his team members. So this is really very important. So understanding the behavior and attitude of the people who are working in the organization is the basic responsibility of any manager, one thing. And then create and maintain a cooperative effort in formal organization, and how one can ensure cooperative efforts. So it means that there should be building and strengthening of relationship. Now, according to Chester Barnard, it is with this discussion we analyze two things. The first thing is the manager's major responsibility is to understand the attitude and behavior of his employees working in the organization, number one. And number two thing is creating an environment of, like for example, having a strong relationship, coordination and cooperation, a supporting environment. That is again the major responsibility of any manager or administrator. Then we talk about Herbert Simon, 1916 to 2001, as one of the contributors for Human Relations School of Thought. Now, Herbert Simon was influenced by Barnard's work, and his focus in the organization was human behavior, particularly focusing on decision making. Now, जो basic जो Herbert Simon का जो focus था, that was basically on the decision making aspect, कि how the decisions should be made in an organization, and उसका क्या procedure होना चाहिए, उसका क्या तरीक़ेकार होना चाहिए decision making का, and what are the different methods to decide about any event or any activity. And then according to him, group behavior requires not only the adoption of correct decisions, but also the adoption by all members of the group of the same decisions. Now, Herbert Simon talked about individual behaviors and group behaviors. आप अगर खुद से इस बारे में अगर आप सोचें कि एज ए इंडिविजुअल अगर आपको डिसीजन लेना हो तो डेफिनेटली उसमें एक डिफरेंट प्रोसेस है, उसमें आपकी परसेप्शन है, द वे यू थिंक, that is one of the most influencing factor. But when as a group जब आप बात करते हैं decisions की, तो definitely एक group behavior है. तो normally ये देखा गया कि individual जब आप decision making करते हैं तो उसमें एक different एक तरीक़ेकार है, और जब आप as a group जब आप decision making करते हैं तो उसमें एक different तरीक़ेकार है. Herbert Simon ने focus किया कि जो भी डिसीजन लिया जाए उस डिसीजन को तमाम ग्रुप मेंबर्स जो हैं उसको सेम उसके जो ट्रू स्पिरिट की जब हम बात करते हैं कि एक सेम अंडरस्टैंडिंग के साथ उस डिसीजन को वो अडॉप्ट करें, बजाय ये कि वो उसमें कंफ्यूज्ड हों या उसमें एक डिफरेंट इंटरप्रिटेशंस हों, एक डिफरेंट किस्म की राय हो. सो हर्बर्ट साइमन फोकस्ड ऑन डिसीजन मेकिंग. He focused on that like people, how they behave differently when they decide as an individual and when they decide in a group. So किसी भी ग्रुप की बेस्ट परफॉर्मेंस के लिए ज़रूरी है, जो हर्बर्ट साइमन के मुताबिक, कि जब भी कोई डिसीजन लेते हैं अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर, so that decision must be supported with their of course loyalty with the decision, and then they support that decision, और उसमें उनकी इनर आउटर दोनों फीलिंग्स शामिल होनी चाहिए, और उसमें किसी किस्म का कन्फ्यूजन नहीं होना चाहिए, and that decision must be clear and transparent. Now, continuing the contributions of Herbert Simon, according to Herbert Alexander Simon, organizations are important because it provides the environments and structure that mold and develop personal qualities and habits. So again, here you see that कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का रोल सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि वो अपनी प्रोडक्टिविटी को फोकस करे, अपनी प्रॉफिट्स को फोकस करे, बस के साथ साथ पर्सनल क्वालिटीज़ जो हैबिट्स हैं एम्प्लॉइज़ की, उसके ऊपर भी वो फोकस करे कि जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में एम्प्लॉइज़ काम कर रहे हैं उनकी क्या हैबिट्स हैं, उनकी क्या उनकी पर्सनालिटी डेवलपमेंट हो रही है कि नहीं, उनकी कौन सी अच्छी हैबिट्स डेवलप हो रही हैं, इसके ऊपर भी फोकस करना एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है. एंड देन Herbert Simon talked about, like for example, like, in any organization, organizations are talking about the importance of organization because it also provides those in responsible positions with the means for exercising authority and influence over others, and then structures communication determines the environments of information in which decisions are taken. So now you see that, okay, Herbert Simon talked about the responsibilities of different organizations. He says that organizations are not only responsible कि जो वो profit या productivity के ऊपर focus करें, इसके साथ साथ वो personality development और good habit development के ऊपर focus करें, उनको एक supportive environment देना है, उनको अपना एक society में एक बेहतर role जो है उसको अदा करना है different organizations को. So that were the prime objectives of Herbert Simon. Now we are moving towards the behavioral school of thought, and according to the behavioral school, it looked at human motivation and social environment in which the organizations work. Now they studied the behavior of individuals in the organization and the effect of behavior on organizational performance. So the main contributors to behavioral school were psychologists and sociologists. Now what do we mean by behavior? Here behavior is defined in general sense as actions of people that are seen. Now this is really very important to differentiate between behavior and attitude. Okay, इस वक्त आप बैठे ये वीडियो देख रहे हैं, ये लेक्चर को आप वॉच कर रहे हैं एंड देन आप इसको अंडरस्टैंड करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो इस वक्त आपका बिहेवियर क्या है? इस वक्त आपका बिहेवियर ये है कि आपके जो एक्शंस हैं कि यू आर सिटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ योर टेलीविजन स्क्रीन्स और यू आर सिटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ योर कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन्स, कंप्यूटर मॉनिटर्स, एंड यू आर वाचिंग दिस लेक्चर. सो योर एक्शन इज कि यू आर सिटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ मॉनिटर और टेलीविजन सेट एंड यू आर वाचिंग दिस लेक्चर. This is your action, this is your behavior. So what is the attitude? Now the ideal attitude in this case, in the similar example is, okay, you want to learn. You want to understand these concepts. You want to understand the contributions of behavioral school of thoughts and other schools of thoughts. So you want to develop an understanding, you want to learn something, and of course after learning you want to do something wonderful for this country. So this is really very important. So whatever is going on inside your brain, whatever you are thinking, whatever you are feeling, whatever your perception is, whatever your motives are regarding this course, regarding this program, this is your attitude. And so the action part is your behavior and your thinking or feeling part is your attitude. Now the unseen attitudes etc. drive certain behavior which is seen. So behaviors are coming out of that attitude. So this is your attitude and behaviors are coming out of that attitude. So which is more important, attitude or behavior? Of course both are very important, but the most important thing is your attitude, because attitude is the source of like your actions. Like for example, the way you think is really very important. Innamal a'malu binniyat. Amal ka daromadar niyat par hai, and niyat is your attitude. So when we talk about rich nations and poor nations, what is the only difference? The only difference is attitude and behavior. So whatever you think about yourself, that is you. So you are what you think. So this is really very important. You are what you think. So you need to think something really great about yourself. And never underutilize, never underestimate yourself. Try to use your best potential. Try to use your best skills. Try to do your level best and leave the rest to Almighty Allah. So this is really very important that as the best employee, as the best student, as the citizen of Pakistan, it is our ethical, moral and legal responsibility and as a good Muslim, it is our responsibility to do our best. Like as a student, this is our responsibility to like learn and do our best in exams and things like that. As an employee, it is our basic responsibility कि हम अपने हर काम को हलाल तरीके से करें, हम अपने हर काम के अंदर एहसास ज़िम्मेदारी लेके आएँ और अकाउंटेबिलिटी और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के फैक्टर को सामने रख के हम अपने तमाम एक्टिविटीज़ को परफॉर्म करें. सो दिस इज़ रियली वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो जो हमारा बिहेवियर है और जो हमारा एटीट्यूड है इन आइडियल सिचुएशन, इट बोथ शुड बी सेम. And then, for example, we can see the behavior of a person who violates traffic signal or who litters around. From this behavior, we can infer his perceptions and attitudes towards rules and cleanliness respectively. So now you see that कि आप जब किसी पर्सन को देखते हैं कि वो ट्रैफिक सिग्नल की वायलेशन कर रहा है, कि रेड सिग्नल को ब्रेक कर रहा है, या किसी पर्सन को जब आप देखते हैं कि वो लिटरिंग कर रहा है, वो अपने बाइक पे जाते हुए, अपने कार पे जाते हुए, अपना मोटरसाइकिल पे जाते हुए, वो कुछ जो है कुछ चीज़ लाइक अगर आपने कोई चीज़ जूस पिया है और उसका खाली डब्बा आप बाहर फेंक रहे हैं, या कोई आप अपने मुख्तलिफ जो कोई पेपर्स हैं जो आपने यूज़ नहीं करने, या टिशू पेपर्स हैं उसको आप बाहर फेंक रहे हैं, या कोई गार्बेज आप अपनी कार में से या मोटरसाइकिल से आप बाहर उसको सड़क पे फेंक रहे हैं, या वर्ष तो यहाँ पे ये है कि कुछ लोग अगर बनाना खा रहे हैं और वो उसका खाने के बाद उसके छिलके को वो बाहर फेंक रहे हैं, तो जब आप ये चीज़ देखते हैं तो आपके जहन में उस पर्सन की पर्सनैलिटी के बारे में क्या आता है. So now you see that this behaviors tells us in most cases the complete story about that person, like most of the factors of the attitude of that person, कि वो person जो है उसका किस किस्म का character होगा, उस person की किस किस्म की life है, उस person का एहसास ज़िम्मेदारी कैसा है, ये सारी चीज़ें आपको सिर्फ ये एक छोटी सी एग्जांपल से आपको समझ आ जाती हैं. So people जो कि who are careless in their offices, students who do not study well or who are careless in their studies, तो ये जो actions हैं, ये जो behavior है, यहाँ से हमें पता चलता है कि उनकी जो thinking है, उनका जो attitude है, वो कितना नेगेटिव है. और इसको इसी एटीट्यूड को जब हम पॉजिटिव करते हैं कि आप अपना एक इंटरेस्ट लेवल को हाई करते हैं, कि जब आप किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं तो आप हर चीज़ को मेरिट पे करें, हर चीज़ को आप हलाल तरीके से करें और अपनी सैलरी को हलाल करें. वन थिंग. सेकेंडली, एज ए स्टूडेंट जब आप देखते हैं कि आप अपनी बेस्ट एफर्ट्स को पुट इन करें, अपनी बेस्ट कॉम्पिटेंस को, अपने बेस्ट पोटेंशियल को बाहर लेके आए, और इसी एटीट्यूड के साथ, इसी थिंकिंग के साथ, इसी फीलिंग के साथ, इसी मोटिवेशन के साथ जब आप आगे बढ़ेंगे तो डेफिनेटली आपके एक्शंस भी उसी तरह के होंगे. यू विल बी ऑन द ऑप्टिमिस्टिक साइड, एंड इंशाल्लाह उसमें डेफिनेटली जब आपकी नीयत ठीक होती है तो इंशाल्लाह ताला उसके जो रिजल्ट्स हैं वो भी ठीक होते हैं. नाउ the human relation school and behavioral school have many things in common, and these are these human relation school and behavioral school. जब हम इनकी बात करते हैं तो इनकी कुछ similarities हैं, कुछ common इनके features हैं, factors हैं. And the first one is both of these schools focus on motivation of people. So now you see that कि इन दोनों schools of thought में एक चीज़ के ऊपर strongly emphasize किया गया, and that is the motivation of people. Now जब हम motivation की बात करते हैं तो what do we mean by motivation? Now motivation means that your willingness, your interest, like कोई भी काम करने के अंदर आपकी कितनी willingness है, आपका कितना interest है, आप उस काम के अंदर उस काम को करने के लिए आपका कितना दिल चाह रहा है, आप कितने ज़्यादा motivated हैं, आप कितने ज़्यादा interested हैं. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल कि आपको कोई भी जब काम दिया जाता है एज ए स्टूडेंट या एज ए प्रोफेशनल, आपको कोई काम दिया जाता है तो आप कितने ज़्यादा एनर्जेटिक हैं, आपका उस काम के अंदर कितना इंटरेस्ट है, दैट शोज़ योर मोटिवेशन लेवल. नो, ये जो दोनों स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट हैं, ह्यूमन रिलेशन और बिहेवियरल स्कूल ऑफ थॉट्स, ये दोनों जो स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट्स हैं, दे फोकस ऑन द मोटिवेशन ऑफ पीपल. The second common factor here is of both of these schools of thought is both emphasize on clarity of communication. Now this is really very important कि क्लैरिटी ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन इज़ रियली वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि इन दोनों स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट में हम देखते हैं कि कम्युनिकेशन को नंबर वन इसके ऊपर इस तरह फोकस किया गया कि इफ़ यू हैव पुअर कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स, इफ़ यू हैव कम्युनिकेशन बैरियर्स, इफ़ यू हैव सम कम्युनिकेशन इश्यूज, ऑफ कोर्स दैट डिक्रीजेस द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, दैट डिक्रीजेस द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ योर एम्प्लॉइज एज ए इंडिविजुअल और एज ए टीम. सो इन दोनों स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट में एम्फसाइज किया गया कि किसी तरह की भी कम्युनिकेशन है आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में वो क्लियर होनी चाहिए और उसमें जो कम्युनिकेशन बैरियर्स हैं उसको एलिमिनेट किया जाए, उसको मिनिमाइज किया जाए ताकि बेस्ट पॉसिबल रिजल्ट्स को अचीव किया जा सके. Now both of these schools of thoughts, another common thing is they emphasize interpersonal relationship. Now interpersonal relationship means that like people having a relationship with each other, like for example when we talk about different organizations, when we talk about same organizations or different organizations, so persons who are working in those organizations or in any one organization or in different organizations, they must have good relationships with each other. So one-to-one relationship is really very important. So when you have a strong one-to-one relationship, it means that your motivation level is increasing, your performance level is increasing because it is a bond. So as we earlier discussed that where are the real meanings of words? Now the real meanings of words are in the people, are in the relationships. Though the more stronger relationships you have, the more stronger performance levels you can achieve. So this is really very important for any organization to focus on improving and building and developing interpersonal relationship. And finally, this behavioral school of thought talks about that this human relation school and behavioral school of thought, they look at individual and group behavior. So as we earlier discussed that as an individual you may have a different behavior, but in any group you have a different behavior, because in any group there are of course influences from other team members, because in any group it is not possible for any group member to avoid those influences. As a group member you may have a different behavior, but as an individual you may have a different behavior. So both of these schools of thought focused on the individual and group behavior and how these behaviors can be improved, optimistic, and of course how we can get benefit out of these behaviors. Now the main contributors of behavioral school of thought is Douglas McGregor and Abraham Maslow. So these are the major contributors whose work we are going to analyze now. Now talking about Douglas McGregor. Now Douglas McGregor presented a theory called Theory X and Theory Y. Now his Theory X and Y are the negative and positive assumptions about human behavior in any organization. Now let us have a look at the Theory X. Now here in Theory X has negative assumptions which are as follows. Humans dislike work or employees dislike work. It says that it is assumed that human beings are lazy and docile, therefore they avoid work. This Theory X here says that it is assumed that human beings are lazy. Now here the Theory X focuses on this particular factor that employees who are working in any organization, they are basically lazy, और वो like एक लेजीनेस आ गई है, एक बहुत ज़्यादा वो स्लो काम करते हैं, उनके अंदर कोई एनर्जी नहीं है और वो अपने काम को स्लोली और बहुत इतना स्लो करते हैं कि आपको एक लेजीनेस का वहाँ पे एक इम्पैक्ट मिलता है अकॉर्डिंग टू Theory X. The next factor is avoid responsibility, because human beings are lazy, they do not want to take any responsibility. Now here human beings who are working in any organization, they avoid taking responsibility because they are lazy. Now this Theory X is telling us the negative assumptions about humans working in any organization. The next is they need to be supervised. Now from the above two assumptions it follows that they need to be supervised. So as human beings are lazy, therefore in order to get work out of them, they need to be closely supervised. So theory X tells us the negative assumptions about humans who are working in different organizations. It focuses on, like for example, employees who are working in any particular organization, they basically dislike work, they avoid responsibility because of their laziness, and then there is a need to closely supervise their performance. Otherwise they will keep on like lazy rahenge wo, and they will keep on not taking responsibilities. So in order to make them a dynamic employee and in order to help them to take responsibilities, theory X जो focus कर रही है कि इन employees को close और tight supervision की ज़रूरत है. Talking about theory Y. Theory Y is a positive assumption about human behavior, and its assumptions are just the opposite of theory X. Now it says that people accept responsibility because they are willing to work. Now this is the total opposite of theory X. Theory Y focuses on the best qualities of human beings, and the first thing it focuses on the willingness part of employees, so that it means that employees are highly motivated. That is why they have a lot of interest and they have high willingness towards their job responsibilities. First thing. Secondly, it says that employees want to achieve goals for the organization and accept responsibility. So again, theory Y focuses on the responsibility factor, that human beings or the employees who are working in the organization, they are responsible persons and they are ready to take the responsibility and they are willing to achieve the goals. Now, goals are the long-term purposes of an organization, and objectives are the short-term. So now you see that employees are, there is an optimistic point of view that employees are highly willing to achieve the long-term goals, and then at the same time they are willing to take the responsibility. Now, can exercise control because they are responsible, therefore they want to have control over things. So this is really very important, that when you have a strong sense of responsibility towards your job assignments, when you are really willing to achieve goals, and when you have a high motivation level, so of course those employees working in the organization who are really motivated, of course they want to have a control over things, and then have capacity to be creative. People want to be creative and look for challenge. So this is really very important, that people are creative and they look for challenging tasks. So this is really very important. So when we have an optimistic approach towards our employees, of course the result is peace of mind. So when we start giving importance to our employees, when we motivate them, when we reward them, when we appreciate them, of course the result is they are more creative because of their peace of mind. And then these people, they look for challenge. So this is really very important. So who accepts the challenges? People who are creative, people who take the initiatives. So people who accept challenges, they are the leaders. People who accept challenges, they are those employees who accept the responsibilities. So this is really very important point told us by the philosopher in this theory Y. Now, can work as natural as rest or play? For people, work and rest are equal. For that is, people want to work and rest, which is natural. They cannot rest all the time because it becomes boring, and they cannot work all the time because it becomes dull as well. So now you see that the people, human beings, they need to have a balance. So this is really very important, that employees, they need to have a balance in their lives. Now when we talk about balance, what does it mean? It means that we should have a good time management. Like for example, we should have time for everything. So this is really very important. So when we talk about best employees, it means that best employees are those employees who have a best balance in their life, who have done the best time management in their life. Like giving time to their family is also very important. Giving time to their organization is also very important. Giving time to their social life is also very important. So of course, if you are working all the time, this is not good. And if you are like on rest all the time, this is not good. So you need to have a balance. So the best thing is you work and then you rest and then you enjoy with your family, you enjoy with your social life. So, and you perform your religious activities, you perform your social responsibilities. So as a citizen of Pakistan, you need to perform different responsibilities. So this is really, really very important that you need to have and you need to maintain and create a balance in your life. And once you have a balance in your life, it means that you start enjoying your life. And once you start enjoying your life, nobody can stop you from creativity and innovation. And of course, the real benefits goes to Pakistan. The real benefits goes to the people of Pakistan. The real benefits goes to the organization. And of course, the real benefits goes to your family. And of course, the real benefits goes to that individual as well. Now, moving on to the main contributors of behavioral school of thought, the next philosopher is Abraham Maslow, and we are going to talk about his need hierarchy. Now, this theory was developed by Abraham Maslow. This theory has received more attention from managers. Now, Maslow viewed human motivation as a hierarchy of 5 needs, ranging from the most basic physiological or basic needs to the highest level of need for self-actualization. Now, according to Abraham Maslow, individuals will be motivated to fulfill the most pressing need at a time. Now, talking about the need hierarchy given by Abraham Maslow, the importance of need depends on the deprivation of the need and current situation. If the individual is deprived of basic need, he will be at that level of need. Now, for example, the basic needs are food, clothing, and shelter. If one is hungry and is starving, one will not be able to think of higher level of need, that is safety. The needs at the lower level must be satisfied before one moves to higher level of needs. Now, what do we learn from these 2-3 slides? Slides about Abraham Maslow's needs hierarchy. Now, what are those different levels? Like, for example, it has different levels. It starts from bottom. Like, for example, the first of all, the humans or the employees, they have the physiological needs. Now, physiological needs mean that the food and water without which one cannot survive. So the first need level is physiological. Then we move up. The next level is safety. So once you fulfill your physiological need, then you need safety. Then after you fulfill your safety needs, then you move on towards next level, and that is called social need. Now, social need means what? Nobody can live alone in this world. Everybody needs family, everybody needs friends. So we need family, we need friends. So first physiological, then we move on to the safety needs, and once these needs are fulfilled, then we move on to the next level, that is social need. So after fulfilling social needs, humans, they move towards next need, and that is self-esteem. Now, self-esteem means what? Like recognition, people know you, like for example, you have a better job, you have a better place to live, and things like that. So when it is like you have done something wonderful in your life, and you are like have a better lifestyle. So this is what self-esteem needs show. So after fulfilling self-esteem needs, the humans, they move on to the highest level, and that is called self-actualization. Now, self-actualization is on the top, and what does it mean? It means that working for the welfare of others. So it is you think for others, you want to work for others, you want to help others, you become a helping hand. So this is really very important. When we talk about employees working in any organization, how we can relate this Abraham Maslow's needs hierarchy with the needs of the employees who is working in any organization. Now, like for example, in our organizations, employees are working on different grades, on different levels. Some employees, they are on the low level grades, and some employees, they are on the middle level, and some employees, they are on the top level. When we talk about this Abraham Maslow's needs hierarchy, how we can relate this Abraham Maslow's needs hierarchy with our employees who are working in different organizations. So when we talk about different organizations, there are human resources who are working in those organizations. Now those employees, they have certain needs. Now, in every organization, we have different levels, like for example, low-level management, middle-level management, and top-level management. So, when the top management, when they want to motivate any employee, first of all, it is really very important for the top management to understand and to know that that particular employee वो किस level के ऊपर है. सबसे पहले ये देखने की ज़रूरत है कि जिस एम्प्लॉई को आप रिवॉर्ड करना चाह रहे हैं, जिस एम्प्लॉई को आप मज़ीद मोटिवेट करना चाह रहे हैं, जिस एम्प्लॉई को आप कोई बेनिफिट देना चाह रहे हैं, तो सबसे पहले टॉप मैनेजमेंट को ये अंडरस्टैंड करने की ज़रूरत है कि वो एम्प्लॉई इस वक्त कौन से लेवल पे है ऑन अब्राहम मैस्लो नीड्स हायरार्की. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर कोई पर्सन जो एक ऑफिसर ग्रेड में है, तो उसको अगर कोई अगर आप कहते हैं, अगर टॉप मैनेजमेंट कहती है कि अगर आप 1 साल तक अच्छा काम करते हैं तो वी विल गिव यू अ न्यू साइकिल. सो लेट अस थिंक अबाउट इट कि पर्सन जो कि एक ऑफिसर ग्रेड में काम कर रहा है, लाइक ग्रेड 17-18 में काम कर रहा है, तो उसको टॉप मैनेजमेंट कहती है कि हम अगर आप 1 साल अच्छा काम करते हैं तो हम आपको एक नई साइकिल लेके देते हैं. ओके, तो आप ज़रा ये सोचिएगा कि इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा उसकी परफॉर्मेंस के ऊपर. ओके, टेक अनदर एग्जांपल. Reward is cycle, but you change the person. Okay, let us think about the person who's working as a grade 1 or grade 2 or grade 3 employee. Like नाइब कासिद की हम बात करते हैं, या हम ऑफिस बॉय की बात करते हैं, या एक LDC UDC की बात करते हैं. तो उस एम्प्लॉई को जब टॉप मैनेजमेंट कहती है कि if your performance is wonderful for 1 year, we will give you a new cycle. Now, इन दोनों एम्प्लॉयज़ का जब आप कंपैरिजन करेंगे तो आप खुद से एनालाइज अभी करने की कोशिश करें कि इसका इम्पैक्ट कहाँ पे ज़्यादा होगा. एक ऑफिसर जो ग्रेड 17 में है, उसके ऊपर जो साइकिल का रिवॉर्ड आप उसको दे रहे हैं आफ्टर 1 ईयर परफॉर्मेंस, और वो किस कंडीशन के साथ, वो ज़्यादा उसको मोटिवेट करेगा, या जो एक लो ग्रेड में ग्रेड 1 2 3 4 5 ग्रेड में अगर एक आपका एम्प्लॉय काम कर रहा है, तो लोअर ग्रेड में जो काम कर रहा है, तो उसके ऊपर जो रिवॉर्ड है साइकिल का वो ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट करेगा. तो डेफिनेटली जो एम्प्लॉई लो ग्रेड में काम कर रहा है, डेफिनेटली उसकी परचेजिंग पावर कम है, उसकी सैलरी कम है, तो डेफिनेटली उसकी जो वो एक नीड्स से गुजर रहा है, तो दैट साइकिल कुड बी वन ऑफ हिज आई थिंक एक उसकी ड्रीम्स होंगी, उसकी एक विश होगी कि काश मेरे पास एक साइकिल होता कि मैं आसानी से अपने ऑफिस आ सकूं या अपने घर के कुछ काम कर सकूं वगैरह वगैरह. सो हमने जब एम्प्लॉयज़ को मोटिवेट करना है तो हमने देखना ये है कि हमारा एम्प्लॉई कौन से लेवल के ऊपर है. अगर आप उसके लेवल को अंडरस्टैंड किए बगैर, उसकी नीड के लेवल को अंडरस्टैंड किए बगैर अगर आप उसको रिवॉर्ड करते हैं, तो रिवॉर्ड जो है वो आपका पॉजिटिव की बजाय एक नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट भी हो सकता है. तो डेफिनेटली ये टॉप मैनेजमेंट की बेसिक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो अपने एम्प्लॉयज़ का जो लेवल है, नीड लेवल, उसको पहले अंडरस्टैंड करें, और उसके लिए दे कैन यूज डिफरेंट रिसर्च मेथड्स. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, दे कैन कलेक्ट डाटा, दे कैन डू सम सर्वेज, और ऑफ कोर्स उसका एक सैलरी ऑफ कोर्स इज वन गुड क्राइटेरिया जो कि वहाँ से डिफाइन किया जा सकता है कि उस एम्प्लॉय का नेक्स्ट लेवल क्या है. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, maybe most of the employees who are working on senior positions, they want to have better positions, they want promotions instead of any they want to get any, like for example cycle or like any other thing, they prefer to get promotion. So of course जब आपने सीनियर लेवल के ऊपर अगर आपने एम्प्लॉयज़ को मोटिवेट करना है, तो अकॉर्डिंग टू द अब्राहम मैस्लो आपने उनके नेक्स्ट लेवल के ऊपर उनको लेके जाने के लिए आपने उनको रिवॉर्ड करना है, एंड ऑफ कोर्स दैट विल इंक्रीज देयर परफॉर्मेंस. Now we move on to the system school, and it says that it has major contributors, and these contributors are Fairmont E. Cost, James E. Rosenweg, and then William Scott. Now there are two basic components of system theory, and these are: system school views organization as unified, purposeful system composed of interrelated parts, one thing. And second thing is this theory provides opportunity to look at organization as a whole and as part of larger external environment. Now the key concepts in system school is the first thing is subsystem, the part that make up the whole. The next one is the synergy. In this, whole is greater than the sum of its part, the combined effect of system. So when we talk about synergy, the first thing that comes in my mind is when I in my first lecture I told you about 1 plus 1 is equal to what? Now 1 plus 1 is equal to 11. So that is the concept of synergy. When the total is, when we talk about synergy, the total is higher than the individual efforts. So if two persons are working individually, that is 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. But if those two persons are working as a team, so it means that there is synergy and the total is 11. So the sum of the total if working in a team is higher than individual efforts. And then system boundaries. Boundary separates system from the external environment. And then we have open and closed systems. System that interacts with its environment is open system, and which system which does not interact with the environment is called the closed system. So in different organizations we have closed systems and we have open systems. So what do you think that which system is really good? Whether closed system is good or open system is good? Now philosophers, they agree on one thing, that open systems are good, because the open system organizations, they not only interact with their like for example employees, but they also interact with their environment. So the decision making in that organization is taking place, and that decision making is influenced by internal and external environment in case of open system. But in case of closed system, the decision making is done with the help of the feedback that is coming out of that only employees or within the premises of that organization, though. So only the internal feedback is being used to make decisions, and this is happening in closed system organization. So in nutshell, I can say that the open system organizations are much better performing organization as compared to closed system organizations. And then the feedback, return of information to the organization. Now we move on to the management school and management science school, and it says that at the beginning of World War II, Great Britain desperately needed to solve complex problem in warfare. The British formed a team of mathematicians, physicists, and other scientists. The British were able to achieve technological breakthrough. When the war was over, the applicability of operations research to problems in industry became apparent. Over the years, procedure came to call the management science. It is the application of mathematics, statistics, and economic models to the problems of organization. Now, talking about the management school here it also involves determining relationship between two or more variables. For example, age and learning, income and expenditure, training and efficiency, etc. Okay, let us discuss these variables in comparison when we talk about the management science school. Now here we are trying to see the relationship between different variables, like for example age and learning, income and expenditure. Okay, let us discuss the example of income and expenditure here. Okay, when you have different like income levels, आपकी जो salary है, जो आपकी different sources से या किसी एक source से या different sources से जो आपकी income generate हो रही है, जो आप earn कर रहे हैं, पैसा जो आप earn कर रहे हैं, और क्या उसका कोई relationship होता है आपके expenses के साथ? आप मार्केट जाते हैं, आप जाके अपने कोई गारमेंट्स लेने हैं, अपने शूज़ लेने हैं, आपने कोई भी प्रोडक्ट लेनी है, कुछ सर्विसेज आपने लेनी है, तो डेफिनेटली आपको देखना पड़ता है कि आपकी परचेजिंग पावर क्या है. So definitely there is a direct relationship of income and expenditure, and of course, and then we talk about training and efficiency. Do you see any relationship between training and efficiency? Of course, there is a direct relationship of training and efficiency, because the better trained you are as an employee, the better efficient you are. Your efficiency level increases. So it is really very important for any organization to understand the relationship of these two different variables. So first of all, it is important to identify these variables. And once you identify these variables, then you need to compare the relationship between these variables, and after understanding the relationship between these variables, then you move on to take benefits from these variables. So this is really very important. In case of training and efficiency, the more quality trainings you provide to your employees, the better efficiency level you can expect from your employees. The more income you have, the more expenditure you can incur. So of course, age and learning again is where they are highly interrelated. So there is also a relationship between age and learning, because with the passage of time, the more older you are, the more age you have, of course the learning level declines. So this is really very important to understand the relationship between age and learning as well. Now we move on to public administration in the subcontinent. So today's administrative system and procedures in Pakistan have its root causes in particular to the British period. 200 years of British rule still have its leftovers on the structure, rules, procedures and organizational behaviors. But the British changed the structure to the extent of what their goals were in the subcontinent. They retained the structure at the district level, which they inherited from Mughals. Now the administrative process in Pakistan is the result of years of assimilation of the cultural and administrative practices of Indus Valley civilizations, including Aryans, Greeks, Persians, Maurya, Mughals and British. Now we are going to talk about traditional functions of government. Now these are some of the major functions of traditional forms of government. The first one is maintain law and order. Now it means that peace and security. For any government to rule, it must maintain internal peace and security. Without peace and security, government will not be able to perform its other functions. So this is really very important for any country to maintain law and order situation. किसी भी मुल्क के अंदर अगर law and order situation जो है वो ठीक नहीं होगी, तो definitely उसका बहुत एक bad impact होगा हमारी इकोनॉमी पे, हमारी like for example इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के ऊपर. हम पाकिस्तान की जब हम बात करते हैं तो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन को इम्प्रूव करने की बहुत ज़रूरत है, क्योंकि जितना लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन बेहतर होगी, जितना पीस और सिक्योरिटी का एनवायरनमेंट पाकिस्तान में होगा, उतनी ज़्यादा फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट यहाँ पे आएगी, उतने ही ज़्यादा यहाँ के पाकिस्तानी सिटीजन्स मोटिवेट होंगे और डेफिनेटली हमारी इकोनॉमी स्ट्रांग होगी, पीस ऑफ माइंड होगा, और डेफिनेटली जब पीस ऑफ माइंड होगा तो ऑफ कोर्स द रिजल्ट इज बेटर परफॉर्मेंस. The next is when we talk about the traditional functions of government, tax collection. It is the second but important functions. Government taxes are collected to provide for defense, that is external threat. Also governments have to provide for welfare and public goods like roads, etc. So tax collection is another important traditional functions of government. So with these taxes, what they do, they perform different developmental activities like making roads and bridges, and of course providing facilities to citizens of Pakistan. And the next is defense. The government has to protect country from external threat and has to maintain army. So Of course, it is the basic responsibility of any government to have a strong defense system in order to have protection from any enemy, or in order to face different threats. So this is really very important if we want to have more peace and comfort in Pakistan. This is really very important that we need to have a strong defense. And then printing of notes and coins. Governments have to supply currency and coins. This is really very important. So this is again a major responsibility of the government. Now, thank you very much, all of you. I hope that you have all learned a lot from this today's lecture. We have talked about different schools of thoughts. We have talked about different contributors who we have discussed their contributions. We have discussed different functions of traditional governments, and then we have talked about with particular reference to Pakistan. And then I hope that with this I advise all of you to have a review of today's lecture, and then inshallah see you all in the next lecture. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Khuda Hafiz.